Hello, Jasmine here from the People First Projects podcast, or vodcast if you're watching us today. I am joined on the couch today by Thomas Brook, PM in the Level Up team, and we thought we'd record this vodcast straight from, I guess, a bit of an experience that we had this morning, which is kind of part of our bread and butter, our ethos, which is getting to site and talking to real people about change that impacts them. Crazy thought, Tom, crazy thought. But we say that we love doing it, and we do love doing it, but we probably don't do it as often as we like, because we really do get a buzz out of it, and it's what I want to talk about today. So why it's important, and what is the gold that you do get from doing that, and how to do it effectively is also something I want to talk about. But it's really easy to sit in an office and not do it, and I think it's not for lack of wanting that ourselves or other PMs and BAs and that don't actually go to site and talk to real users, but I'm here to convince you it's a great idea, and to do it often throughout the life of a project, not just at the start. The project that we're on, we are at that discovery phase, but we were just talking today about how fortunate it is that the client that we're working with is actually engaged us for the entire project phase all the way up to deployment. So the people we meet with in discovery, we will also see during deployment, and that's really cool and a little bit unique. So thank you. But I want to hear your experience, because you've done a little bit of around the grounds, but this, today what did we do? Why did we do it? And do you have any tips for anyone thinking about whether they should do some site visits? So many questions, so many thoughts. You just go for it.
Start with number one. What did we do? We went out and saw firsthand the frontline users and the problems they're having, and what's working, what's not, what needs fixing, what can we fix, what's not in scope, what is, and just hearing those narratives coming from the people doing the work, not the people sitting back in the office that have an idea of what's happening. So that was good.
Was it different for you? So I know there's a lot of people probably watching this going, just call them, just ask them, or send a survey, which is also another really good research tool, which we are also doing, so we subscribe to that. But did you find a difference being physically in the environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So this week we've been doing surveys, we've had virtual meetings with managers, but it doesn't quite paint the picture of actually being in the space and understanding the work people are actually doing. I don't think secondhand news on that is quite as good as seeing it for yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You empathize on a totally different level, just in really basic stuff. Like, what does this building or this environment look like? How do you walk around? That's hard, and when it's like, it's not even what we're here to look at, but it definitely helps you gain a really, really deep understanding of what motivates or maybe challenges a user. So, I personally find being in their environment, and if you can, seeing them do their job, which is not always possible, but that I almost do a 180 on what I had a preconceived idea, and then when you're there, which is again really, really amazing that we get that opportunity to do that. Okay, what else? Were there any surprises? Did you have a 180 moment? I did.
I'm not sure. I didn't really have a preset idea.
Oh, that's
not
good.
Not having done projects in this sort of space before, wasn't really sure what to be looking for, so I was kind of open-minded with it. It definitely opened up new ideas of what people need and what they're actually doing that I hadn't thought about, which was really good. So there's a whole bunch of new stuff to explore and options to look at. But no 180s.
Okay, that's good. That's probably, there's actually a tip in this, I think. And this goes for anyone. There's probably some BAs watching this going, yeah, this is my bread and butter. But this is for everyone, not even in project world. But if you are going to site or you're speaking to end users, and that can be customers as well, have some guardrails of what you're looking for, have a questions list, and then kind of just go with the flow with what happens on the day, because they will open avenues that you're not expecting. And I don't know if you saw me doing this today, but we just went for that. We just went so down that path. And that's what you get from being with someone in their environment versus a call versus a survey. It's so restrictive. Call is sort of good as well for that, but know what you want to ask and then ask it in a roundabout way, or go down those other paths, which you do get from the site visit, or you can say, show me what you mean, literally.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've done, we have a list of things we're particularly looking for and questions that we want answered, so we can kind of measure that across a whole bunch of sites and different roles and users. But having the opportunity to explore the emergence of things that are coming up and finding those unique narratives was really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember how many people we spoke with today, but we did go to 2 separate sites in completely different divisions and departments, but similarities came up. And also it's like this evolving questions list. I noticed this today, that we started with our first interview and our first set of questions, and then by the second and the third, and we were kind of not leading questions, but kind of trying to massage some answers that we hadn't expected come 9 a.m. So it grew, it evolved.
And it was useful having that kind of build, because someone early would bring up a particular issue that we hadn't thought about. And then as you kind of prod someone in that direction, other people are like, oh yeah, that's actually something we do too. And
validating it.
Yeah, and it didn't initially pop into their mind to say, but we're able to kind of excavate that bit of gold.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Excavate the gold. Quote of the podcast today. So true though, isn't it? Okay, and so do you have a view? Like, we've got this particular project we're doing, there are lots of sites, lots of scope, but is there a sweet spot? Like, how many of these do you think that we should be doing? It's probably not a set rule, but when does it become statistically significant?
I guess once you can see trends would be a good heuristic to use, but also kind of constrained by time, budget, what we're allowed to do.
Yes.
Personally, I'd go do all of them.
Yeah.
Go to all the sites. Probably not necessary, but yeah, as long as we can, establish strong trends and understand if it's a unique thing for a site of their, kind of across all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really good takeaway. If you are watching this, feeling a bit inspired, go to site, meet some end users, but one sample is not enough. Don't make big decisions from one sample, because you can have those anomalies and that extreme use case that's not replicated everywhere else, and then you might make the wrong decision. It could be skewed. So we do like to talk to as many people as possible, but as Tom mentioned, we don't have the luxury of time, so that's where surveys as a research tool is also very good, because you can get quantity there, and then the quality, it's quality as well, but you can do that more quantitative research, or interviews, time and motion type studies with a smaller group of people, and then you just validate it, and I love it.
Yeah, and I think we've got the data there too. If we see a particular outlier, we could go chase up other similar roles or sites and find out, if that bit of information carries across everywhere, or if that one's just an outlier. So it's being able to do that is cool.
Absolutely. And I suppose I've got some tips, or I would like your thoughts too on tips for project sponsors and people who are overseeing projects, and why this is so important. So there are often business analysts that come in and they do help at the start of a project, and they do wonderful requirements gathering, and we're all guilty of this. It's put into a very beautiful document, functional, non-functional requirements, and maybe we use that to inform a piece of hardware or software that we do buy, but it should be this sort of engagement, this change management style engagement should be ongoing throughout the life of a project. And you don't have to have that title to do it. I think it's really important. You don't have to even have a formal governance committee like a business reference group, for example, to do that. I highly recommend checking in and going back to site and checking in on your requirements to see if they've changed, because they might have. And if you can, engage someone end to end. And we're talking about this today, how much of a gift it is that we are, end to end engaged in this particular project, because we will be able to talk with great confidence about why our recommendation is the recommendation, because we heard it from real end users. And then we get to meet them again at the end and say, we heard you, we listened, and here's the outcome of that. And that's it sounds like a no-brainer, but it is a luxury. It is actually a gift.
And I think going back and checking will actually be really useful because there's a lot of, I guess, problems that are popping up that are well outside the scope of our project.
Yes.
And, you know, if some of them get fixed up along the way by other projects or just changing business as usual, that'll kind of change what we're doing. Yeah. And if we kind of miss that mark, then what we deliver might not be as appropriate as we thought it was.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. You've opened up a little Pandora's box here. When you are going to site, are you the custodian of other things that pop up? Because this happened for us today too.
Like just processes and stuff that they're using that could easily be changed side by side or fixed outside of the project we're doing, and that would kind of change what we deliver.
Yeah. But even outside of our project, as you said, so sometimes you'll go to site and you'll see best practice and then, well, you don't realise it's best practice until you go to another site and you're like, oh, wow, you're the same company, you're the same team, but you're potentially doing things a little bit differently and there's lessons to be learned. As we know, even 6 people sitting in an office together can sometimes work in silos, and it can... You know, if you are seeing things that could be quick wins or improvements or just feedback for people who are potentially removed from an end user, I personally, it's maybe one of my, aligns to my, personal goal of value of integrity, but I feel like a custodian of that information. It's not up to me to push an agenda, but I saw something and it's helpful, and you can change people's lives if you address this at some point. Yeah. So, not having the blinkers on of just your project, because going to site is also a gift. It's not, we don't always have the luxury, so doing that too. But any final thoughts, Tom? Is going to site worthwhile?
Absolutely, yeah. You just get a completely different perspective on the project, and especially if it's not an area that you're really familiar with or a company you're really familiar with, seeing what the people on the front line are doing and the kind of conditions they're working with and the results they're getting just provides a whole bunch of context that you're not going to get otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing this. I love doing this at the start because then you have some personas in your mind. Like what is the why of this project? Who is the person we are building this for? Yeah. And I can tell you right now, it's so much easier when it's a real person. And then you can talk to that real person and say, what about this? Yeah.
And I think building those relationships will make it more fun as we go along. And if we need to check in with anything, we know, we've formed those relationships with people there, and come deployment time, that's going to be good to leverage and deliver on too.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why you've kind of got this theme of change management that happens throughout the whole cycle of the project. It's not this weird bolt onto your project that's, a plan and some comms. It is threaded through the entire thing. And if you're a PM and you're going, I don't do change, well, jump on board. Jump on board. You don't have to do formal change management, but talking to people, understanding their needs, working with your BA and your change manager, and everyone sort of being accountable for that, you're going to get a better outcome. And then when you actually do roll out change, it's going to blow your mind. When we do this, people say, bring it, give it to me. I want this. I've been engaged. You've listened to me. And you don't always give, the outcome that they're seeking, but humans intrinsically want to feel like they've added value and that they've contributed.
Yeah, I think that'll be really useful. When you're making changes that affect people and the work they're doing, to just kind of spring it on them isn't going to end well. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure, but by going out and seeing these people in consulting and, at least, even if they don't get everything that was on their wish list, they're going to feel like they're involved and had a say, and that they're being listened to, at least to some extent. Yeah. And that kind of just sets the environment for change to happen more smoothly.
Yes.
Even if it's not everything they want.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for your thoughts, Tom. We'll report back maybe of how this went, because we are at this early stage of this project and it's, as I say, a gift. So really appreciative of that. But yes, final thoughts. If you're watching this, if you're thinking, I really should get back and speak to my end users, whether that's in a business as usual sense or a project sense, highly recommend it. It's where all your good ideas will come from, the people who are living it day by day. So go there, talk to them, invest in it. And if you're a project manager, get out there. go and speak to people, go and understand their needs and how your project may influence them. And honestly, you're going to get a much better outcome than, you know, a tick box to say we achieved the project outcome. It's actually going to be something that stands the test of time potentially. So hope we've inspired you to get out there. We love doing it. So and I'd love if you are watching this and you know that you can comment below and share your feedback on what you potentially do to connect with end users as well. So thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time on the People First Projects podcast or vodcast, no matter where you're dialing in from. I'm Jasmine and this is Tom, and we'll see you next time.